That all seems to be working. Hello. Oh, look. Barbara's got a cat. That's great. The cat's arrived to help us out today.
She doesn't like this wind.
No, yeah, we'll get onto the wind a bit later, no doubt. Hello, everybody. Nice to have you with us. I'm going to do my usual quick go around and let everybody introduce themselves, but I'll name you all, and then if you just want to say who you are and where you're from, that would be really nice. So firstly, over there, I always get the finger slightly wrong. There we go. It's Miriam Schwab from Stratic. Hi, Miriam.
I am good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Tell us about what's been happening with Stratic.
Oh, lots. But we are working very, very hard at a lot of different things. It's very exciting. There's always something new to learn, new challenges to overcome. And yeah, very exciting stuff happening here. And stay tuned for more exciting news from us, hopefully very shortly.
Stratic.com. Go check it out. Is it .com?
Yeah, it is .com.
Yeah,
that's why we're called Stratic, because the .com was available.
Yeah, that was it. We had that last time. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Double T. Yeah.
And you got a new team member as well, haven't you?
Oh yes, we do have a new team member. Oh yes, so excited. There's so much happening that I forget that that's actually still pretty recent news. So Zach Gordon joined us as our community manager and organizer. We realized that we need to be doing outreach to the community, explaining what we do. Just for those of you who aren't familiar, Stratic converts WordPress websites to static and headless in one click. So you don't have to like rebuild your site or anything. You use WordPress as usual, click a button, and then you get a static version of it. You know, that's kind of a mind switch. What does headless mean? What does static mean? How do you build a site that's static friendly? All that kind of stuff. So Zach, we met in London, actually, at WordCamp London.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we stayed connected, and we were like, please join us. And he was like, sure, that would be great. And so he joined us very recently, like January. And it's very exciting. And he's already out there at conferences. Yeah, he's great. And it's really exciting to have him on board.
When I watched him in WordCamp London 2 years ago, he'd obviously prepared. Like, that much is clear, right? He's a super clever guy. But I've never watched anybody live who basically just kind of rewrote it in front of your eyes. He had this presentation, and then I think somebody asked a question. He said, oh, no, we'll just modify that a bit, and did it all, just changed loads live and fiddled with it all live. And it was really, 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 really inspiring, actually.
That is really impressive. He's an amazing communicator.
Yes.
When it comes to speaking, writing, creating content around anything, like actually creating courses, writing books. I mean, he writes books, which is super impressive.
Yeah. So, he's quite the character. So Zach Gordon. Thank you, Paul, for mentioning that, because
thank you for reminding me about what's going on in my company.
I think we did mention it a couple of weeks ago, but that was
that's right.
Nice timing.
It does deserve a highlight. Yeah. So welcome, Zach. So excited to have you on board, as I keep telling you. And,
he better be watching.
Yeah. No, I don't suppose he is. He's probably in bed.
No, I'll be like, Zach, go look at this later.
Go check it out. You mentioned. Down there is Barbara Saul, or Babs Saul. How are you doing, Barbara?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm nice and snug.
Yeah.
With a cat on my lap here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice look. I like it. Anything you want to say?
Not really. I've been busy getting Blog Mistress live again and sorted out, and tidying her up a bit, and getting some packages out and setting up so that I give my 1% to WP and Up from now on. So that's something I'm definitely doing.
There's the t-shirt. Oh, actually, the t-shirt's in there, the sweatshirt's there, the Press Forward podcast t-shirt. Just out of interest, that a question I've never asked anybody. You used the female as a descriptor of website. You said she. I always call my cars she. I don't know why. It's her. It's a her thing. Is a website a she?
Well, it's because it's Blog Mistress. So which is me, which is she. So
that's
wouldn't.
Interesting.
Yes, that is interesting. In Hebrew, nouns are either male or female. There's a bunch of languages like that. So the word for a website is atar, which means site, which is male, but Elementor at a conference here in Israel, they made a whole campaign and one of their posters was like a feminist poster about websites, and they called it, instead of atarim, which is male, they called it atarot, which is the female version, which I thought was amazing. I actually have a picture of it. Yeah. So in Hebrew it's actually a male word, but it can modify it to make it female if you're Elementor, I guess.
Right.
So,
well, the reason that I say it as well is because this is one of the rare occasions where we've got 2 people out of the 4 as female. For some reason, I don't know quite how it's happened. I can assure you it's by accident. The booking just got filled up with males. So it's really nice to represent 50-50, which is a nice aspiration, I think, to have.
Well, actually, the cat is female too, so.
Oh, yes. Okay, then it's, what is that, 60-40?
now we're the majority.
Yay. Yeah, great. Right, now, segueing, I don't know how I'm going to segue, so I'm just going to introduce, I thought he's over there, Paul Lacey. How you doing, Paul?
Good, thanks, mate. Good. And my website is called Dickybirds. So it's a plural, so I guess I need to refer to my website as they.
They, yeah. You're stepping cleverly over that problem. Yeah, that's good. We've got Barna very quickly, just saying hello. Hi there, Barna. Nice to have you on board. Jeffrey from Editor's Kit has joined us. That's nice as well. Leo from Sotic has joined us, and Heinrich as well. I confess, Heinrich, I'm sorry, I don't know where you are from, but hello, nevertheless. Let's get stuck into
Nathan,
it.
Nathan, I just wanted to say we've got even more females on the show, actually, and we've also got representations from cats, and we've also got my dog here, who is a girl.
Oh.
And I think that she has a haircut just like Nathan's, which is why.
Hang on.
Yes.
Let's examine. Go on, right up. Put her up. Yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
She's very cute.
She is.
Did you say female?
She's a female, yeah.
Oh, so now we've gone what? What are we now? I've forgotten. So we're 6.
The maths is too difficult now.
Yeah. 6 doesn't go nicely with math with 100, does it? Anyway, what have we got? So Barna's saying, it's the matriarchy edition, thanks to the cat and dog. And Leo, who's now hopped over to YouTube for some reason, was in Edinburgh Castle at the weekend. The canons are referred to as she. There you go. I can feel a whole new podcast coming on. I better say what we're doing here. So we're going to cover the WordPress news for last week, which was the week commencing the 3rd of February. And if you want to make comments, as you've seen, the comments pop up if I press a button. And if you want that to happen, you've got to make a comment. You've either got to go to wpbuilds.com/Facebook. That's our Facebook group. It's a cat now on Paul's feed. God, why aren't they killing each other? And also you can go to wpbuilds.com/live, and you'll be able to post comments on YouTube comments, and we can sock them all in. Oh, Heinrich lives in Ireland. Very windy. Has 2 female cats. In order of importance. It's windy and he's got 2 female cats. Right, let's get rid of those banners and get stuck into it. Just share my screen, if I may.
Oh, Heinrich, I spoke to you. Hi, Heinrich.
Oh.
I actually know who you are. Yeah, we had a call.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice to see you again, or whatever.
Yeah, nice to see you again. This is WP Builds. We are like a WordPressy podcast. I don't really know what to call us anymore because we do so much. I think I'm going to start using the word network, but that sounds a bit grand and entitled, so I think I'll just stay with podcast. Anyway, this
Empire.
That's definitely not what it is. It's a female WordPress website based around the notion of WordPress. And every week we release a podcast. This is the homepage. These are all the ways to subscribe. Click on those buttons, especially this one, the subscribe one. We do news every week. And check it out. Look at it. Look at this number. This is episode number 100.
Wow. That is very impressive.
It started off with me just doing like 5 minutes. The intention was because we used to put the news into the main podcast, and I was just thinking it didn't really belong in there. So I started off, and it started off as about 5 minutes, and now it's every week it's about half an hour. I've no idea if anybody listens to it or not, but there seems to be. Yeah, well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. Yeah. Heinrich saying, do you remember the guy who talks too much?
You did not talk too much. It was a very nice conversation.
Anyway, so this is episode 100. And if you want to follow what we're on about, all the links are, are in the show notes, just like that. So what I'll do is I will make a start, click up the first article, which is on the... Now, this is interesting. Do you want to get into this, Miriam, the WordPress Tavern, or should we just bypass that whole thing?
Okay, I'll share my thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so many years ago, I started a blog, which I called WordPress Garage. And the goal of that blog was for me to kind of document and share my WordPress journey and to share anything I learned along the way, because when I started using WordPress, other people's content helped me and I want to help them. That was the concept, and I was pretty good at blogging pretty regularly for a long time, no longer. But at a certain point along the way, I was approached by official WordPress people, and I was told that the blog could not be called WordPress Garage because WordPress has a copy or a trademark on it. And so it can't be used for that purpose. I would have to call the site, the blog WP Garage. I argued with them a little bit about it because WordPress is open source. The point of my blog was to share knowledge. So, and it was built on WordPress. Like, it just seemed strange to me, but I towed the line and I changed the domain to WP Garage and redirected all the URLs. So it just seems strange to me that WP Tavern, which was called WP Tavern all these years, is now allowed to be called WordPress Tavern. Because from what I am familiar with, and maybe things have changed since then, you cannot have any type of web property and call it WordPress unless you're WordPress.org, or I guess WordPress.com. So I'm just curious how that is considered okay. I have no problem with it. Makes a lot of sense to me. I would have called WordPress Garage WordPress Garage. But apparently that was a standard. Is it no longer a standard? Is there potentially a double standard? Just curious about that. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really interesting. Obviously, when we launched WP Builds, I just somehow knew that wasn't an allowance. But I did notice that. And in fact, whilst we've been talking about, I mention it quite a lot in audio, and I still say WP Tavern, and I'm kind of starting to say WordPress Tavern. So I'm not exactly sure. I could be wrong about this, and no doubt somebody will correct me in the comments or something, but I think it was Audrey Capital which bought or took it off Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff,
Jeff
like
Chandler. And so I don't know if it's owned by Automatic or if there's a special dispensation, or if Justin Tadlock has just put it up there and sees if he gets told off. I don't know. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, certainly I avoided it like the plague. Right. Anyway, we are on WP Tavern. Let's stay safe. This week, they've given us a story about Gutenberg 7.4. This is a nice little update if you're using Gutenberg. You've got some new color controls. You've got this new link UI, which I'm happy with. I'm happy with that, and I'll talk about why in a moment. But here you go. You've got basically the ability to group blocks and get the text color controlled in that way, and you can alter the background color of blocks. It's the inexorable but yet steady improvement of Gutenberg. But this is the bit that I'm quite happy with, in that I haven't actually seen it because apparently it's not pushed to live yet. But I add this open in new tab section like pretty much on every link that I put in the news, just because I want people to have, I'm not trying to get people to click away from WP Builds, because there's like a list of links. It would be helpful if it was still open, so I put them all. And at the moment, you've got to go through this tortuous process of open a panel, tick that box, go to the top, save it, and so on. And I just think this is quite nice. I've no doubt there's not a lot to say about this, but if anybody does want to chip in on this particular article, speak now.
I'm just the same as you, Nathan, in that it's just small iterative changes that are improving it. And quite honestly, if I wasn't reading articles like this or listening to the WP Builds news, for instance, then I'd still have the exact same opinion of Gutenberg of when it was all controversial at the beginning. I'm still not a huge fan, but things appear to be improving all the time, and it's these little tweaks and changes that seem really in the right direction. Just to put in another automatic conspiracy theory to go along with Miriam's stuff.
I don't want to be considered a conspiracy theorist.
No.
Just saying it's something that I noticed.
No, yeah, absolutely. the more that I see the direction of Gutenberg going, then I'm sure this isn't a new theory, but it just had me thinking when I was seeing this that is the reason Gutenberg is just going forward without, sort of wider consensus at the beginning and stuff like that, because this is a big plan for WordPress.com in the long run of it being a big SaaS tool, and that the big plan is really for the automatic SaaS tool, software as their website as a service tool, their WAS, and that basically we've all just got to live with it on that basis. So WordPress.com becomes a Wix, and we just have to deal with that. We've got the same product. That's what they use. Could be slightly negative comment, but it's just something that came to mind this morning.
Yeah.
I think in the past, I maybe on the other episode I mentioned it. I don't remember, or I was thinking it, which is that when Matt announced Gutenberg, or it became a major part of the project, I was relieved. At that time, I was still managing my web agency, and I could see from my interactions with potential clients, that the user interface of WordPress, classic WordPress, was just too cumbersome. And especially when we started using WordPress, it was in an era of a lot of interfaces that were fields. There was not, the user experience was not an emphasis. It was just getting data into something. So WordPress compared to other platforms was dreamy. But as the web developed, WordPress as an interface became less so and more cumbersome to people who were used to easier interfaces, very smooth interfaces. So my opinion was we really needed something like Gutenberg in order to bring WordPress kind of into the modern era of the web and of people's experiences interacting with technology. And I think Gutenberg is that. And I think it's good for our entire industry. I think it has a long way to go. It's not at all there yet. And I just read a post by Femile, the theme developers, I think it was them, where they basically built their site twice, their new site, once in Gutenberg and once in Elementor. I don't know if you saw this post.
No.
Very interesting. And they really tried to make it work with Gutenberg. And they're theme developers, so they should be okay with it. But every time they needed their site to have some different type of content, it meant they'd have to build a new content, like a new block.
Right.
Which, on the one hand, building a block is maybe not the hardest thing in the world. On the other hand, it's not at all as easy as dragging and dropping something in Elementor. So they got really far with their building their site on Gutenberg, and then they scrapped it and went with Elementor. And they write up, and this one of the writers writes up about it. It's very interesting. So I think Gutenberg's a really good direction for all of us, maybe also for WordPress.com. Why not? But it's still that just emphasized to me how far it still needs to go in order to really be a very user-friendly, smooth experience for mainstream users.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it definitely is more intuitive because I wasn't a fan when it came out, and I've only just started using it. But I built a new site with it and found actually, that's quite useful, and found a few things. And I got my son to actually help with things. He's at university and helps me out now and then. And I got him to do some content adding, and he came back and he said that is so much better now. So nice.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's actually way better than it was, and still has some way to go. Yeah, what you said.
That hasn't stopped him building his own quick blog on Wixmind, but there you go.
I think it's coming. It's coming, and once the blocks become easy to do, and the likes of ordinary people have got a fair stab at creating blocks in some way, shape, or form, be that with a plugin or whatever. Then yeah, maybe it's time to move over. I've had the classic editor on WP builds just as a precautionary measure since a week before WordPress 5 came out. I just put it on every site just in case something catastrophic happened. Of course, it didn't. And then at some point during the last year, I've transitioned over to it. And then this week, I finally took the classic editor away because I haven't used it for such a long time. And it's nothing. I've got nothing but praise for it. I really like it.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, let's change tack completely. We do our news in different sections, and we always do WordPress core first. And there's usually one or two items, but normally it starts to pad out a bit now, the weekly news. And communities, it dominates, actually. The plugins and themes and blocks always gets loads of news, but the community section always just rammed with the stuff. I could put 100 things in each week, and so I have to pick and choose fairly carefully. But the first one I chose this week was on WordCamp Europe's site. Quite like this color combination, actually. I should show it. Hold on. Let's put it up on the, there we go. Quite like the blues mixed with the oranges. Really nice. And this is all about the Contributor Day. If you haven't been to a WordCamp, usually the bigger WordCamps, they have this one day allocated to helping out in the project. And Barbara, I think you wanted to talk about this one. Feel free to go for it.
Well, yes, indeed. My first introduction to a WordCamp and really stepping out and into the community was back in 2016 at WordCamp London, to which I volunteered because I thought, well, then I've got to be helpful and I'm okay and I've got a reason to be there. But the first day was Contributor Day, and I thought, well, I've got nothing to contribute because I'm not a developer. I'm not a designer. I'm sort of something in the middle that helps people use WordPress. But I got stuck in and I went onto the community table, which is not at all techie or geeky or anything. There were 3 wonderful Italian people there, and we just spent the day working on community stuff. So the great thing about the Community Day that I really want people to know is that you don't have to be a techie. And I think this page, the WordCamp Europe page, explains this really quite nicely. That anybody can actually contribute something to WordPress. And it's a really great way to get stuck in and feel like you do belong in the community for everybody. Absolutely.
I think there's a sense that if you just turn up to a WordCamp, which is usually three or four different tracks, well, 2 or 3 different tracks, which is mainly somebody up on a stage talking, that can be quite you're not necessarily going to interact a lot, and you can choose the hallway track, but you've got to be a kind of fairly confident person, I think, to be able to just bot in if you're the first timer at a WordCamp. I think if you go to the Contributor Day, you're inevitably going to be talking to people. So if that's an area of concern, you feel yourself worrying about the notion of going for the first time and being able to speak and communicate with people and make friends. Contributor Day is great because you'll be sat down on a table and you'll have to talk to other people, and it won't be at all uncomfortable. And there's probably 2 or 3 of you cracking away on something. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to do dev stuff. You could do marketing. You could do documentation. That was the first one I ever did, was just change some documentation on WordPress, make.wordpress.org. It was quite a nice introduction. So yeah, but it makes that point. You don't need to be an expert, and you don't need to be a developer at all. So yeah,
having fresh ideas is useful as well. You can be really quite stuck in a way of doing things. That having somebody who's a total novice to such things walk in will have, certainly on the community side of things, will have a totally different input, which can be incredibly useful.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move us on. Just before I do, there's a couple of comments that dropped in. One from, actually, let's go for this one first. Toddy Jones, going back to Gutenberg, the editor needs to be updated, but I'm thinking they tried to make Gutenberg do something we were already doing other ways. They may have taken it too far, so that's an interesting perspective. Camo, I don't think we've met Camo. Hello, nice to come across your name. Hi, everyone, won't be around long as it's already midnight. Yes, don't stay here. Go and get some sleep. That's a good idea. Elliot Richmond. Hello, Elliot. First time. I've tried to build a site purely with the blocks. It's still too difficult to work from a developer's point of view. If you need to build custom blogs from a user perspective, Gutenberg is genius. Okay, and then he carries on. Oh, no, that's the same comment. Okay, there we go. You can also do testing at Contributors Day. Great. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Let's go over here. This is quite a nice one. This is, again, on the WordPress Tavern. And it's just to say that we're now going to have theme review teams holding bi-weekly discussions, which I just think is a really nice idea. We're entering phase 2. So we're still ostensibly on core and Gutenberg and everything, because phase 2 of Gutenberg is about site customization. So headers, footers, and all sorts of other ways of dragging stuff into your post or page or website. And it's been felt that essentially the direction of travel hasn't been known by theme developers that they've not really been able to contribute to this conversation. So now you'll be able to join the Slack channel, and they're going to hold these bi-weekly meetings, fortnightly meetings. I have nothing to say apart from that. Just seems like common sense to me. If you're a theme developer, I think you should make a point of going and checking that out, because why wouldn't you? You know. Anybody on that? If not, we'll move on.
Well, first of all, just hi, Elliot. Elliot is one of the co-organizers of the Cheltenham WordPress meetup.
Great, thank you.
So he was kind enough to invite me to go and speak a couple of weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. So thanks for that, Elliot. And in terms of this theme review article, this was the article actually that I was reading that just kind of put that little idea in my mind. But the most thing I was, because this article does talk similar to what Todd was talking about, that there was the block editor to replace the classic editor, and then the block editor is going much further than that. But the thing I was most happy about in this article was that it confirmed what bi-weekly actually means.
I was thinking that when Nathan, you said fortnightly. Unfortunately, unless we're in England or whatever, we don't use that word, and that is the clearest way of, I think, saying it. Internally, we're always like, okay, so we'll meet bi-weekly, and then everyone goes, do you mean twice a week, or do you mean every other week? And then it becomes a whole discussion.
Okay, so I guess fortnight comes from 14 nights, I would imagine. 2 weeks. I don't know. I have no idea. But yes, thank you, Paul. That was probably the most useful thing. Yeah. If you go to North America and say fortnight, you have to be quite careful.
Nathan, I have to say though, the problem is we now have 2 phrases for something that happens every 2 weeks, and we seem to have 0 phrases for something that happens twice a week, apart from twice a week. So is that what we say? Do we say twice weekly?
Twice weekly, surely.
Say
twice weekly. Does
that mean in brackets fortnightly and then in brackets bi-weekly? I don't know.
A quarter of a fortnight would be that would be the simplest thing. Every quarter fortnight. Quartnight. Oh goodness me! No, let's move on quick. This came out of nowhere. I didn't really see this one coming. So this is, now I never can pronounce this gentleman's surname, but Syed Balki, I'm going to say, who is behind Awesome Motive, who a list of as long as your arm. Look at that lot. WP Beginner, Opt-in Monster, WP Forms, and so on and so forth. Lots and lots of WordPress specific products. They have bought the enormously popular, and again, WordPress continues to amaze, 2 million active installs, it says, the all-in-one SEO pack, which I'm told in this article was the sort of first SEO tool. It's kind of been, I think Yoast is the one that comes to everybody's minds these days, but apparently this one was first. It's been bought. I don't think they mentioned the numbers, not that I really want to get into that, but it was started 12 years ago. It's been acquired. The guy who started it, Michael Torbert, he's stepping away, but the entire team, everybody else on the team, is going to work at Awesome Motive to try to make this product, I guess, rival the likes of Yoast and so on. I'm guessing that in a little while, it'll be added to this list of popular plugins that this company build. Hopefully, they'll make it better, and I'm guessing they'll add a paid tier, because am I right in saying that all-in-one SEO is completely free? I don't know. I've never used it.
I think there's a pro version.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's definitely a free version as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, more consolidation anyway.
Well, this is interesting because Syed Balki, I also am never sure if it's R or L. Right. But anyways, he started a small WordPress kind of investment accelerator. I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know if it was, I can't remember what it was called. I can find it, but so this seems to be part of his theory. I mean, this is my theory or how I see it, a strategy of supporting like smaller WordPress projects that have a lot of potential, giving them resources that they might not otherwise have, whether it's investment or acquisition in this case. I know that he also gives other resources as part of his accelerator related to mentorship on all sorts of levels, like business models and things like that, which can be very useful to, if you have a small team, like 1 or 2 people working on a plugin and has a lot of potential, that those 1 or 2 people can't know everything related to building a product, marketing a product, selling a product, right? So, and Syed has a tremendous amount of experience. And so having him come into a project like this or other ones in some capacity brings a lot of value, and it means that he can bring his expertise to that and help it grow. And then, yeah, so it's an interesting kind of consolidation, and there's a few movements like this within the WordPress community. There's other ones that are like just starting out that I'm familiar with. I think it's a really good sign for the WordPress ecosystem from an economic point of view, because finally there's recognition that WordPress is like 35% of the internet, which is a really big number. So there must be potential there. And so hopefully, as there's more different types of investment into different WordPress projects, they can grow, they can become stronger, which is good for everyone. And the products can become better and scale more, and WordPress as an ecosystem will become stronger, which the rising tide rises all ships kind of thing. So it's good for all of us. So anyways, it's an interesting acquisition because of Syed and all of his background.
Look, Todd's come to save us. Todd Jones,
yes.
Here we go.
That's
the
it.
Beginner Growth Accelerator for WordPress Business.
Yeah.
I was thinking one called Tiny Seed, which is, I think, more of a SaaS-based, not specifically to WordPress, just because there's a couple of WordPress plugins in there as well that have managed to go in there. But yeah, thank you for that, Todd. And there, although you can't click on it, there is the link, awesomemotive.com/contributions. Perhaps that'll tell us more. Thank you, Todd. That's enormously helpful. Okay, let's go to the next one, unless Paul or Babs want to comment on this.
Just briefly, I know some really, really capable SEO people who use this plugin, and it's not quite as sexy as the interface as some of the other plugins. And I think in this article it kind of talks a little bit about the UI getting updated and stuff like that. So I think it's always felt like the underground plugin for SEO, even though it's got 2 million installs compared to say Yoast or something like that. And I think that this investment and what they're saying in the article means that it's going to turn into a big commercial player with all the others as well. So it's really good news, I think. I think it's in good hands as well. I think it's in very good hands.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Todd, again, solid plugin, has improved over the years. Not being a user, I couldn't make that comment. Less sexy alternative to Yoast. Yeah, it's just echoing.
When I started out, I used all-in-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I remember switching to Yoast. I think the reason was that Yoast had a Google XML, an XML sitemap built in.
Right.
Whereas with all-in-one SEO at that time, you had to use that plus another plugin. And my attitude was always, let's use as few plugins as possible. So Yoast solved that. Now, in any case, they're talking about rolling in an XML sitemap to WordPress core, which is very interesting.
Yes.
So then, but in any case, that's, I think, why I stopped using it. It's great to hear that it's been developing and improving over the years.
It's interesting because people like Syed have obviously got a bit of an eye on what can be made to generate some capital, shall we say. And so SEO, it seems like, there's a few incumbent players, but I bet you in the same way that, I don't know, there's lots of forms plugins, and there's lots of which he is the owner of one. There's probably a possibility to get some of that SEO market share. This is just a very quick one. I don't suppose anybody's going to want to comment on this, but it's just to say I found this, but I don't know where this one came across my radar.
I was like, no.
No, don't want to talk about it.
I do not want to.
No, nobody does. So I'll just mention it. But if you are really into CSS and you feel that, well, basically, the last time that the CSS coding standards were reviewed was quite a while ago in terms of its interaction with WordPress. And so this chap, Tell the Machines, or I don't know, I'm sorry, it might be a lady. I'm so sorry, I can't tell from the little image, and the name doesn't particularly help me on that score. Anyway, there we go, I'll use the safe they, have decided that they want to strike up a conversation this week. Obviously, we've got things like CSS Grid and CSS variables. Lots of things have changed recently. And if that is your thing, if you are red hot with CSS and you really like that kind of stuff, the conversation is this week. And the conversation is just to see whether more conversation should happen. So there we go. Very small bit of news. But the next one, this is nice. This is really nice. Look at that. Look at that picture there. That's cool. It's us, not all of us, but it's me and Paul and Bernard and Meg, because Meg came onto the show a few weeks ago, and we ended up chatting about testimonials. And I just thought, quid pro quo, what a nice thing to have done. She then wrote an article about why she thinks that they're important and different ways of doing it. And I just thought it was really nice. And I know, Barbara, you had something perhaps you wanted to add.
Well, it's something that, I tell all of my clients that, get some testimonials on, or, cite case studies. And indeed, Meg mentions including the testimonials with the case studies, which is brilliant. It's just one of those really good go-to articles for people to read or to send people to say, look, have a read of this, and it just makes sense, and it helps explain why it makes so much sense. To have testimonials, as many testimonials, and refresh them as well. That's the thing is, we sort of you build a website, put some testimonials on, and leave it there, and like 5 years later, it's you could do with a bit of updating. It should be a yearly thing or something like that, really.
Yeah. This is nice. Todd says testimonials, get them from Paul Lacey. I like it.
Here's a good reason to give testimonials for things that you think are awesome. You get backlinks.
Yeah.
I reached out once to, I don't remember the guy's name. It's the person who created that Genesis themes, SEO themes.com or something. And I just sent him a message once, just because I'd looked at his website so many times and took inspiration, let's say, from them. And I just sent him a message just saying, I love your work. It's, I look at it all the time. And he was like, oh, can I use that on the website? And I'm pretty sure I saw a SERPs lift just from that one, because I think that website. And I was really pleased because, that was, I think you've got to give genuine testimonials and stuff.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I also, here's a little tip as well. I talked to someone at a WordCamp who was a minor sponsor, and they said paying for a minor sponsor to a WordCamp is worth it for the backlink. So even if you're kind of like, I don't really want to sponsor or something like that, you never know. You could be giving your site a nice lift there.
Little SEO boost, yeah.
I remember that.
The thing that in our podcast episode, which was about this very thing, we talked about the fact that there's no real way of regulating it. So, for example, if you go to Amazon are constantly fighting this battle about reviews, and they're just full of fakery. And you go to some website where there's reviews and it's just fakery. And so that was kind of where I was coming from a little bit. I've kind of, in the same way that I no longer see Google ads, although they've done a blooming good job of making me look at them recently by removing every element of, they just look the same as the regular listings. Apart from that tiny little favicon in the corner which says ad. I just sort of think, well, anybody could write that. I don't know if that's real. But I think if people like you, Paul, whose name is now very well known, if I see that, the sort of the weight of a person, not the weight, that was an awful way of describing it, the kudos attached to that person, I think matters. But when I see testimonials from people who I'm not that familiar with, I'm a little bit distrustful, which is
I think having something like, I've just popped on the SEO themes site, and indeed I use those themes all the time.
Lovely, aren't they?
Having the picture and the name and everything, that adds a lot of weight to any testimonial, because you sort of see, well, that's a real person. I mean, yes, it could be a made-up person, but
but you want to try to be as authentic with your testimonials as possible, and you also want to make it part of your habits. So in my agency, at the end of every project, we would say, hey, do you mind giving us a testimonial about working with us? And sometimes they would say to us, no problem, I'm just so busy, can you write it for me?
Yes.
And that's legitimate. So we would try not to be like, the agency was called Illuminate. Illuminate is the best agency in the whole world. I love them so much. No, don't work with anyone else. Nothing like that. We tried to like make it aligned with the project itself, but we just tried to get testimonials whenever possible in a legitimate way. And then also, so there's like legitimate, authentic testimonials from people who people might not know, but you know, it's a person with a company and a picture. And then you want to build yourself up to people or companies that people are familiar with, right? Like bigger brands. But you build on the previous testimonials because they show credibility to your future clients, and then eventually you can get to that, and then you highlight like Facebook loves me. Just kidding. If you can get there, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm just a cynic. That's my problem. I'm an old cynic. But I am going to move it along if that's right, because I know that you've got a hard stop in about 20 minutes.
Todd just made a really good point. Good case studies.
What's he said here? I like tweets as testimonials. Yeah, genuine. Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point, because then you can attach it and link it back to the real person. Don't forget a good case study. Yeah, I don't just mean purely.
Case studies are worth a lot.
Right, where you actually spend 1,000, 2,000 words explaining what you did and during and after and all of that. Yeah, good point.
And people won't always read the whole thing, but if you highlight like certain parts of it, like we made it easier for their marketing team or whatever, like their ranking went up or their traffic went up or something. It's really valuable also.
Yeah,
good point.
Good point. Local development. I've been using Local by Flywheel for a little while. I don't use it a lot, in all honesty. I tend to work on servers remotely, but it's never failed for me. But I know that a load of people have installed it, and it's been a right nightmare. You know, things going wrong. They've completely re-engineered it. It's now just called Local, and I don't know what the technology change is, but apparently it's the technology is so different that you can't sort of upload it and then just start working on your old sites. You have to export them onto your Mac or Windows machine, I'm guessing. Oh, and there's a Linux variation as well, which is another new addition. And then you have to re-import them, and they claim that it's now much more stable, and the whole process of getting it going is about 5 minutes. And I tried it. Man, it's quick, really quick. So I'm sold. I don't know if anybody else has played with it, but I like it a lot.
We talk about how interesting it is that their website is a page on Evernote.
Yeah, well, this is because some people don't create articles. So Local by Flywheel put this newsletter together. They don't create a web version. They don't have a blog post about it that I could find. So I have to create an Evernote so that there's an actual way of linking. Yeah, it's me.
So this is you. Smart.
Yes, it's me. No. I just couldn't find a. So anyway, please, Flywheel, make a web version or create a blog post about it. Anyway, there we go. That's a nice bit of news. So go and check that out. It's now just called Local. And from my perspective, it works really quick. When I previously would say launch site or whatever the button is, it would take, 10, 20 seconds, nothing to grumble about before it was ready to go. Now it's instantaneous. You press the button and the site is completely ready. And if you want to build a new site, you click the add button, give it a name, click go. It says downloading WordPress. That whole process takes about under 10 seconds, and then you're ready to go. So it's really fast. Nice. So really nice. Yeah. Barbara, I'm going to miss that one about the billing if that's all right, because I want to just crack on. Yeah. Sorry about that. I just think
you can do that at any time.
Okay, so we're on to plugins, themes, and blocks. Ahmed Awais has introduced a new script to automatically update WordPress plugins. I don't really know. From my perspective, I've no idea how difficult the problem was in the past. But obviously, if somebody like Ahmed is having problems with it, he says, we live in an age of agile workflows. What does he write? Developers only want to git commit and git push and expect their products to be deployed globally. So he's released this little script. He built off the back of a 10-up script, which they launched last year with some GitHub actions. And so really, I'm just putting this in under everybody's nose. If you are developing plugins and you want to be able to push them quickly, simply, there we go. That's all I've got to say about that.
Is this because lots of developers who work on the WordPress's repo have always kind of complained about the SVN system and stuff? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
I don't actually understand it very much, but I think it sounds like if you're into that stuff, it'll be really good news.
Yeah. I think so. Again, it's a bit above my pay grade, but
working with SVN is just clunkier, and developers these days are used to working with a more modern tool like Git. So his tool, I haven't tested it, so I don't know it well enough, but it seems to integrate and allow people to overcome that pain point of having to work with SVN, but work in a way that is more comfortable, they're more used to. Ahmad is quite an impressive guy. He's always creating new, I mean, that's what it seems to me, new projects.
Yeah, he got a huge shout out in Matt's State of the Word this year.
Oh, right.
It was like a minute long of like great stuff that Ahmed had done. It was to do with Gutenberg and blocks. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, it was pretty impressive that he got such a huge shout out. I think that
very
was
impressive, but well deserved. Very impressive.
He's committed to core quite a lot and so on. Okay, the next one then is, and I don't know how many people are actually using Divi. My understanding is that it's still by far the largest page builder solution out there, although it's not one that I'm familiar with. And I know that a lot of people seem to rail against it. But they this week introduced this guy, whoever this chap is. I don't know his name, sadly. He seems to be the lead. Perhaps he's the lead developer. He's certainly the face of Divi. And in this video, they show off their new capability to make things move. And so the sort of thing that you're seeing on the screen now, where I don't know if you can detect, but things are not just moving up and down; they're kind of fading and blurring as they move. And the video goes to show exactly how that's done. Basically, you don't need a single line of code. You interact with a panel and you drag sliders, type in numbers, position images, and it just all happens brilliantly easily. And it looks, if you're a Divi user, pretty compelling. I don't know what the impact on the page is. I'm assuming it's fairly gigantic, but there we go. Divi. Anybody?
Andrew says that the chap in the video, as you called him, is Nick Roach, the CEO of Divi.
Nick Roach. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew Palmer, who keeps dropping these very helpful comments, is I was going to say he's behind Elegant Marketplace, but he still is. But he recently sold it to InMotion Hosting a few weeks ago, and he runs Page Builder Cloud, so he knows a bit about page builders and so on and so forth. Yeah, and he does make the point that Elementor did this a good while ago. Divi's still catching up, but for those people who are using Divi, which I think accounts for millions and millions, no doubt, a good little upgrade.
It looks like they've. It just makes me want to swipe on my laptop and chop the fruit up.
Yes, it is Fruit Ninja. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
That was a great Divi is the first page builder to have Fruit Ninja game built in.
Yeah. Andrew makes the point that he still is working with Elegant Marketplace, I think. Yeah. So sorry, Andrew, if I modelled that up. Right. Anyway, Divi users rejoice. Speaking of rejoice, happy birthday! Check it out. 10 years old now. Studio Press obviously been acquired recently by WP Engine, but they're still going strong. Feels to me like, forgive me, Barbara, I could be completely wrong about this, but it feels to me like they're less talked about than they were 5 years ago with the advent of other solutions. But nevertheless, David Wormsley, who does the podcast with me, he said that he was a huge user of Genesis, and to this day, nothing breaks. He's had sites that he doesn't touch in any way, apart from updating, other plugins and the updates that come down the wire. And he said he doesn't need to fiddle with them in any way. So he's really happy with his investment because it's proven to be reliable and solid all the way through. And I know, Barbara, this is how you started with WordPress, wasn't it? This was one of your first things, was getting involved with Genesis.
Not exactly started. It was how I got involved with the community.
Right.
I sort of came across the Slack, and that's just ridiculously supportive. If you've got any question whatsoever about anything to do with Genesis, you can go into the Slack and you will get a response, a positive, helpful response. And it was from there that they said, "Oh, come along to a WordCamp." And I said, "No, don't be ridiculous. I don't have any place at a WordCamp." And they said, "No, come on." And, Gary Jones, for instance, especially kind of pulled me in, and now look what I'm doing. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, David really glowing. He talks often about Genesis and how cool he thought it was. I have a license, one of the lifetime licenses, whatever it's called, the all-in-one super
best
pack or
investment
whatever.
ever. That was, goodness.
Yeah, and I did use it a bit, but I haven't used it for a very long time. But anyway, 10 years, a notable milestone. What's the name of the guy behind it? I want to say Brian Gardner.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he stepped away about a year ago, didn't he? So I don't know what the stewardship of it is still, whether WP Engine are good custodians or not. But anyway, presumably it's still going strong.
There's still enough of the, people around, and, there's still new themes coming out now and then. And of course, there are other people that come up with child themes. So, there's still plenty going on with it. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
It's not going away anytime soon from what I can see.
No. Okay. Well,
so,
that is good to know. A couple of new, sorry.
I was going to say, similar to what Barb was saying about how it got her into the community. I remember before I'd sort of got involved in any kind of, going to a WordPress meetup or anything like that, I used to listen to the Divi Nation podcast. I used to really enjoy listening to that. And I also used to, I was kind of half using Divi and half using Genesis. That's before I started using GeneratePress. And I remember those photos, like on the article you can see there, with a big crowd of Genesis people with the Genesis WP t-shirt. And it's pretty much one of the reasons I went to one of my first meetups. Was just like, I just saw all of those people hanging out together and thought, that looks really fun. I really want to meet some people who are doing the stuff that I'm doing. And I don't know if you scroll down, there's usually a picture of loads of people standing there, and they're all kind of Genesis, like those. Yeah, I remember seeing photos like that and thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to.
Do you have the t-shirt though, Paul?
No, I couldn't get any.
No,
I searched them online. Couldn't find one.
Paul only wears, slightly, what should we say, contraband bootleg t-shirts. Yeah,
we'll get some
unapproved
bootleg contraband Genesis t-shirts going.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, and look at that though. That's nice. Presumably, that's a fairly recent photo. If they put it on their post,
Europe, isn't it?
Sure. Yes, it is.
It does look like it.
Yeah, looked those windows. I rember those windows. Yeah. Good grief!
Yes, I couldn't make. I was doing.
I remember.
I think I was standing in for you at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Okay, so Genesis, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Congratulations! Just adding something to the block pile. I ought to get that domain, blockpile.com. There's a new collection of blocks. We seem to get one of these every fortnight, 2 weeks, sorry. And this one is called, what is it called? It's called Gutty Block. I don't know. Guta Block. Yeah, let's go with that. It's a new one. It's coming out of London, Sween Technologies. They've got 12 blocks. There's a pro version. So, if you're not happy with Atomic blocks, Cadence blocks, Code blocks, I could keep going. Then there's another one. And this, I think, is the direction of travel. This is where we're going to be from now on. We're going to be seeing new blocks every few weeks tackling. What I'm kind of hoping is that somebody develops a pricing model where you can buy the block that you need, not the whole lot, where you can buy 2 of them instead of 12, because I'm not going to need all 12, but I might need 2. And so there you go. I've just given everybody a nice pricing model. That's it. That's all I've got for that. How are you doing, Miriam? Because I'm conscious that we're right up against the time for you.
I have like 2 to 3 minutes, and then I must go.
Okay.
In which case, sorry. You
got to go now.
No, I have 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. I think if it's okay, Paul, are you all right? And Babs, are you all right to just carry on in a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Babs? Yeah, great. In which case, I'll sort of say goodbye to Miriam. But as we always do, Miriam, before you go, is there anything you want to say? Do you want to be a bit self-promotion? Tell us what you're doing this week and so on.
Oh, my gosh.
You don't have to.
I'm going to be on another WordPress podcast with Michelle.
Frechette.
Yes.
Coffee WP. The coffee one.
Talk.
That's the one. Oh my gosh, yeah. I really should remember. I'm so tired. I'm really sorry, Michelle. If it's
no, Michelle is the nicest person ever.
She's so forgive me for my terrible.
No,
absolutely adorable.
Yeah, she's really nice. She's often in our WP and Ops Slack channel. giving nice, helpful comments, and does wonderful things like sends people postcards just to make them feel happy.
Wow, that's a nice touch. So I'm going to be on her podcast, and then another one, but that's for startups. And what else? I don't know. All sorts of stuff.
Okay, so go to stratic.com if you want to find out what it is that Miriam has been involved with and is being involved with. But thank you, Miriam. We'll press on without you, if that's all right.
I believe in all of you. You can do it without me.
Miriam,
so I'm gonna, just so that you don't have to do it.
Nice to see you.
I'll pull
Great
you out.
to see you again, Miriam. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you so much. This was always fun. Hope to do this again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Oh, I don't think we've done that before, have we? We've never sort of let somebody go halfway through, which is quite unique. Yeah, so that was it. Guti blocks. There's a whole new bunch of blocks that you can check out. Does anybody ever play with these? Does anybody actually ever download the new incumbent one and give it a go? Because I have to confess, I don't. Now I've not really seen anything too compelling that makes me want to desperately go and check out the new block.
I don't think that's the model for the future.
Really?
I don't. Yeah, I think the model for the future is the new block marketplace, where you are kind of looking at more individual blocks and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was trying. I think you summed it up brilliantly in the word marketplace. That's what I was trying to get to, a point where you buy one specific block to solve a need. Let's say you need going back to what Barbara was talking about earlier, desperately need a testimonials block, a nice pretty testimonials block. You go to some repository, likely the WordPress one, and find a whole bunch of rival ones that lay it out in different ways and have got different customization options. You just download the one that you want, and perhaps go on to their paid version with more features and so on. I think that's what I think as well. I suppose they've got to start somewhere, though, haven't they? These companies have got to generate a revenue stream off the back of what they've already built.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's definitely an opportunity at the moment to make some money for sure, and to help push the technology forward. Show what's possible, and so I'm not investing in them in a big way because, like I say, I don't think they're the future. However, the one that you might be mentioning next is something I would be more interested in.
Well, now I couldn't figure this out, right? So this one came. This just to put this in perspective, this is another blocks pack. And it's called ACF blocks. Now, what that immediately struck me as interesting, because I can see in there, and I don't know if you can zoom in on this, in the logo, that's definitely the ACF logo, right? So I was thinking, okay, is this Elliot? Has Elliot Condon done this? And then I kind of looked at the site itself, and I thought it doesn't look like an Elliot project, and I could be wrong. So then I was looking around thinking, okay, what's this got to do with ACF? Have you made the connection? Why is this, Paul? What's this got to do with ACF? Oh, he's gone. Can you still hear me, Paul? Yeah, I was just asking, have you figured out what the connection is between this and ACF? Why is it?
I don't think it's an official connection, but I think it's, as I understand it, I haven't researched this, but this is what I hope it is. I think that it's blocks created from ACF, so you need ACF to run it. And so that's why it was interesting to me, because I feel like when I do start getting into blocks that I will create my own using ACF. So I thought this looks really nice, because this would be like a head start for me to see how they're done. And in other news, my daughter just came up to tell me that she's just used my card on Amazon and given me the money. She's only 12.
She's learning. Mind you, at least she gave you the money.
Yeah.
She could easily have just bought it and had a great time.
She's a real teenager.
And bought it again. Here we go. Jeffrey, who knows his stuff. Jeffrey Carandang, who's behind Editor's Kit and therefore knows what he's on about. Going back to the conversation a minute ago about having these big block packs, he's suggesting that if you install them one at a time, you'd have lots of active plugins. Yeah, good point. Unless, of course, I suppose you took the approach that you really did make an endeavor to keep it minimal and you only had 3 or 4 of them installed. But yeah, that's a really solid point, isn't it? So the reason I said that, Paul, is because I watched the video hoping to see what you said about like connectors between ACF and the blocks. And I didn't see any evidence of it at all.
No.
So anyway, we'll see. Maybe that's where it's hoping to go.
Yeah,
but
the thing with ATF is you don't have to have all the fields defined in the user interface. You can create PHP that creates all the fields. So I assume, and I haven't watched the video actually, that all the fields that are required for it come in hard coded into the plugin. And it seems to say that there's a way to expand on them. So, but yeah, that's what I hope this plugin is anyway. But that's why it was interesting, because I'm still an old timer, not wanting to fully commit into Gutenberg. So this is almost like, well, how about if we show you something that's a bit like the old stuff and a bit like the new stuff? And I'm like, yeah, that will get me in. Yeah, I'm interested in that. So yeah, that's why it's interesting to me.
Andrew Palmer's sort of suggesting that maybe a block switcher. I can imagine what you mean. Can't imagine what I would sort of do with it. Let's have a look. ACF blocks is done by one of the vendors on Elegant Marketplace. All the fields are included. Okay, thank you. Okay, that clears it up. So just as you said, Paul, it's got the fields already sort of hard coded into it. Okay, great. Well, that could be really interesting. Well, in which case, I'm going to say, go and check it out. That I am a big user of ACF. I'm an enormous fan, and so that would be great. And he says you can download a free version from the repository. Perfect stuff. Turn on and off. Right, okay. Let's crack on. The couple of things that we got this week, we normally go into deals. I've got them on this page here. Just a couple of links. These are both on the AppSumo website. They're both linked to here. I actually bought the wishlist member one this week. I bought like the $49 deal. Haven't played with it, but there was a lot of people saying nice things about it. So I thought, well, I'll tuck that one away. The data tables one I haven't bought, but there's a plugin here called WP Data Tables, which enables you to wrangle data from Google Forms or CSV files or Excel spreadsheets, or just create the tables in WordPress and make them spit out data in searchable, formatted ways. So yeah, I think you bought a couple of those, didn't you, Paul? Or...
Yeah, I bought the data tables one because I missed out on that Ninja Tables deal a while back, and I wouldn't use complicated tables very often, and so the one code deal here for $49 gives you, I think, 3 domains.
Right.
I think that would keep me going for a long time. I didn't buy the wishlist member because I won't use Restrict Content Pro. But the one thing about wishlist member is, if you go back a month ago and check out reviews for wishlist member, you'll see people saying that it's not up to date as the other ones, and it's the user interface isn't that very good. And now, similar to an article that Vlad's colleague did a while ago about how genuine are some of these reviews that you see out there, suddenly a month later it's on AppSumo, and there's lots of positive reviews about wishlist member being fantastic with links through to AppSumo affiliate things. So is it old and dated, or is it fantastic and a great deal? It's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So I saw that and I decided not to bother because I've already got Restrict Content Pro.
Yeah, they AppSumo got a pretty good refund policy. I think it's 60 days, maybe it's 30, 60 days, and there's no questions asked. They literally just refund your money. And so I thought I'd give that a go and lock that one away. Okay, well, thank you for that. A couple of security bits. Tutor LMS, if you are a user of Tutor LMS learning management system, then go and get that checked out, because there was a cross-site forgery request in operation this week. And then we always link to this. This is, well, not this particular one. We either use the iThemes one or the WebArcs one. Just a couple of things. I just like to scroll through these because you can look at the thumbnails and think, oh, have I ever used the Flamingo plugin? No. Or WP Central? No. Or WP, do you know what I mean? You can just flick through.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and there's like every single month, there's dozens and dozens of these things.
Yeah.
And I just do that and just go through real quick and usually get to the bottom with nothing to do. And occasionally I get to the bottom and think, oh, I must update that. And, I've got a process, which means it's mostly updated anyway, but it's worth looking at. All righty. Now this is, a couple of things. I did this company I just think is amazing. This is our latest podcast, by the way, so excuse the self-promotion, but We spoke to Patrick Gallagher this week on the podcast. It's all audio. There's a bit of text here that I write to go with it about what we said and so on. But Patrick Gallagher has a company called GridPane, which I think Cloudways, think Server Pilot, think Run Cloud, that kind of thing. But they don't do anything apart from WordPress. And he talks about how they've really tried over the last year to build a solution which saves you as much time as possible. Every single person that I know who's used it has been a raving fan within a few days, really liked it. They just take any sort of impediment to making it easier away. So, for example, you've got a GridPane username and password to log into their system. So rather than force you to create a WordPress username and password for your admin account, they just use your GridPane one. So there's one less thing that you've got to do. And it's little things like that. Anyway, it was a really nice chat with him. They've got some groundbreaking technology. He's joined with a guy called Jeff Cleverly. And maybe just go and check it out. Listen to the podcast, see what you think about Patrick and what he's got to say about his platform. But very, very positive. I know a few people who are literal raving fans. So, yeah, interesting. Either of you, anything on that one? Possibly not. Don't know.
It does sound like an interesting platform that's going to be useful to a lot of people. It seems that web hosting is going in that direction, that the out of reach technologies and the out of reach methods of hosting your website are becoming into our reach all the time. So starting with things like Cloudways that made it really, really super easy, and then you've got like the things that I use, like Run Cloud in my case, and then you've got Spin Up WP, and then GridPane feels like another flavor of these, that it's really just finding the right mix for what you want. And I think they're all pretty good services. I really like this kind of technology. The power it gives you for the money is quite amazing. This kind of direction.
Yeah, I think maybe just go and check it out. I mean, just if nothing else, go and have a listen to the podcast episode all about it and see what you think. But it seems like a really good solution if that's going to be your way of doing things. Come to that article in a minute. Next one I want to mention is this. On Wednesday, Peach Neri and I are doing a UI UX thing with some websites. If you want to submit, it's hard to see because there's a banner over the top, but basically wpbuilds.com/UI. Go and fill out the boxes. We don't keep the data. We keep it for like two, maybe it's 14 days or something. And then it's a gravity form. It expunges all your data. So we're trying to be as GDPR compliant as possible. But if you want Peacher to take a look at your website, just fill out this form, wpbuilds.com/UI, and then join us, as it says here, Wednesday the 12th at 2 p.m. When she'll go live. But we make the videos available to everybody else as well.
Okay.
Yeah, she's really good at it. It's such a departure from everything I do. It's really, really nice. I love it.
Well, I was going to put myself forward for that, but I'm in another meeting at the time. So.
Leo Mindell keeps trying to make me do the WP Builds website, but it's going to be torn to pieces. So I never have the courage.
Then you can rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot to say. It was really interesting. I'll just show you, just for the sake of it. WP Builds is entirely, I mean, every single piece of writing is in Montserrat, the font Montserrat, and without knowing it,
like Montserrat,
on the last episode that we recorded together, without knowing it, she said, "Don't use Montserrat. It's awful. It's a dreadful font." And there was I thinking, "Oh dear." I really like it. I really like Montserrat. Anyway.
At least you haven't got any centered text of editorial.
Yeah, look, it's all left aligned. There's a bit that's centered.
Oh yeah, but apparently
they're not loading for some reason. Now they're loading really slowly. This is coming from the Smush CDN, and clearly something's afoot. Look, that's not coming, is it? Bless the Smush CDN. Anyway, blah blah blah.
About white space, it's fine. It works.
Yeah. That's right. It was intended to be white space. Okay, last couple of bits. SpaceX, check it out. Nothing to do with WordPress. We just round off with 2 or 3 bits that are nothing to do with WordPress. If you've got $1 million spare, you can book yourself. No, you can't. That's a complete exaggeration. You can book some space on a SpaceX rocket $1 million. However, you have to weigh 200 kilograms or less and be able to not breathe, because it's just for cargo, basically. And if you do weigh over 200 kilograms, which I'm sure you don't, you have to pay another $5,000 per kilo. But check it out. You can, like mere mortals like me, there's a form. There's a web form where you can just go onto the internet, pay some money. I mean, a lot of money. But it's a form on the internet to put stuff in space. That's just crazy. Unbelievable. What else have we got? Does anybody here use Apple products? I don't, apart from my Mac. I don't have like iOS.
iPad, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, I use an Apple Mac, but that's it. My phones are all, kind of Android ones. And I don't have any tablets these days. I've kind of decided that's not a format I really was ever using. But apparently, a bit painful to buy things on a Mac and then have to sort of repurchase them on iOS. Whereas Apple has now decided that if you're into their ecosystem, you can buy it once. So you could, I presume the pricing will be different. If you want to have it available on iOS and Mac, I'm presuming you'll need to pay more. But let's say an app like, I don't know, like Evernote, for example, they're on both platforms, and you'd have to pay twice to be available on those platforms. Whereas now you can pay once. So that's good for you Apple users.
So.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? And it's surprising that they haven't done it since then. And what else have we got? Did anybody ever use this? Anybody ever use Visme?
Yeah.
Do you use it?
Still use it, yeah.
When
I need one of those diagrams that shows like this many people think this and then this many people think that, Visme is really good for that. So it's like icon charts,
infographics and so on.
Yeah, and I got it at the same time as on AppSumo.
Yeah, well, I bought it and kind of for a little bit of time I was using it to create the thumbnails for podcast episodes, and then I found a different tool which for that very specific task was a little bit simpler. It shaved a couple of minutes out of it each time, so I went over and used that. But then this dropped in my inbox this week, and I thought I'll take another look. So this tool Visme, I'm not recommending it because I don't really use it, but I am staggered at what they've managed to push in a browser. Mm-hmm. This can do really complicated stuff. Like it's got like on, I don't know, Illustrator or something like that. You've got your area where you're working in and all the graphics that you're using. They don't get clipped. They sort of hang over the edges, but what is that bit called? The artboard or something? I don't know what it's called. You can push things in so that only the corners are in, and all of the bits that are excess shot, sort of hang over the edge. It does some really nice, complicated animations, and it just looks like a fabulous sort of halfway house between nothing and Photoshop, if you know what I mean. It kind of feels to me like this company, Visme, version 4.0, are really getting close to what things like Photoshop can do, and maybe even more. But for things like infographics, you just drag in millions of templates and tweak it, to make it your own.
Yeah, and it's got like these icon charts. I love them. You can say, how many bees are there in this country versus that country? I don't know why you'd say that, but and then you just type in the numbers, and the chart will show lots of bee icons, and 50% bee icons here, 50%. Oh, it's a terrible description of what Visme does. It's really sorry to the directors and founders of Visme there, but it is really cool. And have you heard of GeForce Now?
Oh,
this gaming platform. I don't know if you've heard of the Google Stadia.
Yes.
Something like that. So GeForce Now, it's like a similar platform to that, and it reminds me of the power that the server end can do for us now, compared to having to have your computer do everything, your laptop or your machine do everything.
Yeah.
With GeForce Now, you can play PC games at the absolute top graphics. Graphics settings, ray tracing, whatever that is. It's something to do with lighting, I think, on a Chromebook, because all the processing power is being done at a server end at GeForce Now, and it's pushing the graphics via streaming to you.
Right.
So you can have a cheap laptop, just got to be 64-bit, and it's not happening on your screen. It's happening to someone else. And this is what this is like.
Yeah, you're literally watching a video of the game that you're playing, and the game is being played somewhere in, I don't know, Philadelphia or something like that.
Yeah,
and you're just watching it, which brings in all sorts of like multi-gaming possibilities. Yeah, this is a whole, I mean, Stadia is the same, I think, isn't it? And there's only a few companies with that kind of computing power.
Microsoft's doing one as well, but this whole power in the browser, because the application behind it is doing all the work, and just pushing what's needed via JavaScript to the browser for you blows your mind what the future could be in a few years.
I logged in because I have an account for this Visme software. I logged in and I had a quick look, and I wouldn't normally have mentioned it, but I really did think, what a fantastic job these guys have done. So they've updated to version 4. Yeah, if you do things like infographics or, you know, like thumbnail arts, featured images for your blog posts and things like that, it's not Photoshop. It's not. I don't think it's trying to be Photoshop, but it's very, very good, and speaks of a future where the browser is all.
Don't need Photoshop. Most of us don't need Photoshop. I don't get on with it personally, and I really miss fireworks.
Yeah,
really miss fireworks. I shall be crossed by that for many years yet to come. So, you know, something like this suits me very nicely.
I think both Paul and I got it on an AppSumo deal. I don't know what the pricing is. You know, there's no affiliate links or anything, so I don't know what the pricing is. But just thought it was amazing. Really, really amazing. So well done, whoever built that. Last one, just before we go. This is just lovely. Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's equivalent of, I think Slack is probably the best. Oh yeah, look, in the first paragraph it says Slack competitor. So they've got this new tool, Microsoft Teams. They've spent probably millions of dollars making it work and everything. And then last week it went down because somebody forgot to reissue a certificate. Well, I mean, how many times have I done that? Just forgotten to reissue a certificate. So I just thought, well, it's not just me. Other massive corporations can do it as well. So just a silly bit of news right on the end. That's it. That's all I've got. Yeah, that really is it. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, you two. Or you three, I should say, Miriam as well. Or 5, because we've got Paul's dog and cat. And we've got Barbara's cat. Is still there? Has that cat been on your lap the entire time?
Yep.
What a super chill cat.
Very discombobulated.
What about you, Paul? Have you still got the dog there?
The dog's there and the cat is there, at least. It's like a farm here, as you know.
Yeah. So it would seem. Yeah. Anything happening this week? Are you doing anything exciting? Should we start with Barbara?
Well, apart from seeing my youngest off on a school trip to Nepal, so 10 days of being seriously busy for me.
Nice.
No children in the house for the first time in a long time, 20 years.
Well, I'm going to give you a load of things to do in that case. You need to be kept busy.
Yeah, I want to be busy. This child is going to be halfway around the world, and I'm in denial about it, and the husband is in fuss mode. He's sort of fussing and buying all sorts of bits and bobs on Amazon that he just can't do without. So
oh well, good luck. I hope that you manage to keep that stifled. Or, under control.
It'd be a brilliant adventure for them. So,
thank you, Matt Medeiros says good chat today. Thank you, Matt. Paul, what's happening?
Mainly, I'm launching a couple of websites, but last week was more exciting. But I wasn't there to say anything. So,
tell us about last week then.
So last week I went to Lee Jackson and Martin and Lindsay Huntback's event.
Oh, is this in Manchester?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Fantastic. So that was really good. Went to that event, and it was really good clarity on, what your company is and what message you should be saying and what content you could be creating. But not in a kind of what should I be blogging about. It was very, very good for business processes and everything. So that was a fantastic day.
Are they doing a repeat of that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think we were really beta testers in a way. We didn't really know we were, but I think that it was a small group, and it was a fantastic size of event because it was like 10 or 12 people, and within a couple of minutes you felt like you knew everyone in the room. So just want to say thank you to Martin and Lindsay and Lee for organising such an amazing day. It was brilliant.
That's great. Nice shout out. Be sure to to mention that to them, that you mentioned it in here. That's really kind. Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's great. I've got nothing else to add. I'm just going to say thank you, Paul. Thank you, Babs. And obviously, thank you to the now absent Miriam. It's been nice. Go and check out. We've got a podcast coming out on Thursday. I'm not entirely sure what it'll be about yet, but it's probably one with me and David. And we'll be back here this time next week, wpbuilds.com/subscribe. You know, get yourself signed up to our newsletter and so on. I'm going to mute everybody and put the little banner on, but I'll be back in a sec. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.